Alright guys, there's a few possible setups that I'll be looking at today to give out to my signal group. The first one is on GU. So on GU we have this really clear 4-hour supply zone here, which price came up to, respected, didn't purge the highs of this supply zone, and has now started pushing to the downside, which is a strong indicator that we're respecting it and using it as another supply zone again. So when we scale down, you can see we had a change of character on the 15-minute. We broke below this low, and now another low again. Price is still continuing to the downside. So upon mitigation of the prior 4-hour supply zone, which is this line here, we're left with this strong 15-minute supply zone, and then price was consolidating below the 4-hour supply zone, which is really good, and now still pushing to the downside. So the reason why this is a good zone is because we have one singular candle with strong sell side wick, sell side heavy wick, and then we had this huge push down with a fair value gap that needs filling. And on top of that, we have these equal highs above, which is storing liquidity. So if price comes up to take it out, then we have more selling power for price to then mitigate the supply zone and have a huge, really strong push to the downside. Furthermore, we have all of this fair value gap that needs filling. So my first target would be this area of liquidity here, which is coincidentally a 4-hour fair value gap, as you can see here. We have this fair value gap which needs filling. Hopefully price doesn't do that right now, but if it does, it's okay, because we still have all of this room to move down to, as you can see here. This is my main target for price. It's a 4-hour demand zone, and it's in confluence with the prior high of day and the low of day, and that's why I reckon that price would go all the way down to if it was to have a bearish push today. But hopefully we don't end up in consolidation for the rest of the day. I think our supply zone will get hit. There's news at 9:30 on GBP, but it's not too strong, so I'm not worried about that. But that's the GU analysis. So just to run over it again: tapped into a 4-hour supply zone, rejected, pushed to the downside, change of character to the downside on the lower time frames, created equal highs for liquidity, have a perfect supply zone with sell side heavy wick, and then we have a fair value gap that needs filling. Firstly, ignore the lighting on one side of my face. My office is a bit of a mess right now, so my light is over there. But this is how the trade played out. Crazy trade. As you can see here, we just melted. So I had spoken about why we took this trade. We had more confluences building up to the trade as well. We had this breaker structure to the downside. We had this purge of the equal highs, right? So there was engineered liquidity here, resting here, as you can see right here. Right, this was all liquidity waiting to be taken out, and luckily we had that perfect supply zone just above these highs. So price gave breakage structure to the downside, confirming bearish bias, pushed up, took out our liquidity here, mitigated our perfect supply zone, and sold off completely. And so this was where price ended off the Friday. So obviously it's the weekend, so this is where the price closed before the weekend. I actually full closed my position here. I do think it's still going to go to this 4-hour demand zone, which I spoke about was my final target, as you can see here. However, for me, mentally and psychologically, I like to close out at the end of the weekend. I don't like to have any positions held over the weekend. That's just me. I'm a scalper. You can call me a bad trader if you want, but at the end of the day, I hit a 1 to 12 this Friday. So that's just how I like to trade. So we'll break it down quickly. So firstly, this is our breaker structure point here. So after we got mitigated, I was waiting for price to come and break this structure here. As you can see, it did. That's my break even point. Okay, so we broke structure, confirming bearish bias. So now my stop losses moved to break even. This was my first take profit. I didn't want to take profits, but this was the one partial that I took. I decided to do this for the reason being is that once we started dropping from this point, the only retracement that we had around here, so the only thing that could have pushed price to go bullish again, was off of the touching this area of liquidity over here, as we see. So I thought, okay, if price is respecting prior liquidity levels, then I'm going to use this as a partial, because if it's going to reject anywhere and flip to the upside, then it's going to be off of this here. Because the rest of it is just clean traffic. As you can see, we have this void and this fair value gap which needs filling. So I took half of my position off here, which is perfectly fine. I don't mind taking partials when it's 1 to 5.5. Like, that's a really nice partial. And then as you can see, we just melted. I don't even need to describe price because it just dropped. There was no, there were no higher highs made. There was no change of character, no reversal, nothing. Price is still dropping. I had marked out this 1 hour demand zone here as a potential reversal candle, but on the higher time frame, there's just so much clean traffic that needs filling. That price could even potentially come underneath here, flip this 4 hour demand zone into a supply, break and hold underneath the prior high of day and the lower day, and then fill this last fair value gap here and mitigate this 4 hour demand zone. But as you can see, like, that is just a huge move that we caught there. So this is also called out in the Discord, but my Discord has not been working today for some reason, so I can't see. But very, very big trade, and played out exactly as I had analyzed it to in the video just prior to this. And I made off of this £4,165, which is a huge trade. And we'll be back next week again for more big trades in the Discord. I will be having a sale on my Signal group for Christmas, so that will be implemented in the next trade recap video that I have. So whether it's on Monday or Tuesday, whenever I next take a trade, you don't want to miss it, because I'm going to have a sale on my Signal group, and you guys can catch this with me as well. Like, look at this, you would have caught a 12 risk to reward. Ridiculous. I analyze these before I take them, so if you're ever skeptical as to why I'm taking a trade, I post a video before the trade has even entered or mitigated. So this prior video, the video prior to this that you would have seen, was posted in the Discord as well. So that is the trade, guys. Huge trade, and we'll be back to do the same thing, if not better, next week.